Chris Johnson, the former Tennessee Titans star once known across the NFL as CJ2K, has publicly confirmed that he is living with ALS. The update came in a Good Morning America interview with Michael Strahan, where Johnson revealed that he was diagnosed in 2025, at age 39, after symptoms that first seemed small began pointing to something far more serious. And the part that has made this story feel so urgent is not only the diagnosis itself, it is how quickly Johnson says the disease has changed his daily life. The former running back, once defined by speed, balance, and explosive movement, now uses a speech-generating device controlled by his eyes to communicate. But the message he wanted people to hear was direct. ALS has changed what his body can do, but it has not changed who he is. That is the center of this story. What happened to Chris Johnson? What has his family confirmed? And why is he choosing to speak publicly now, after keeping this fight mostly private for the past year? For verified entertainment updates, without the rumors, subscribe to Startline Entertainment. The latest confirmed update is that Johnson, now 40, revealed the diagnosis publicly on June 29th during a pre-taped Good Morning America interview. He appeared with his wife, Brittany Johnson, and spoke through assistive communication technology. According to the public interview, doctors believe his case is sporadic ALS, meaning there was no known family history connected to the disease. For many viewers, that detail is important because it helps explain the shock around the diagnosis. Johnson said there was no ALS history in his family. He described being in the prime of his post-football life just last year, working out, spending time with his wife and children, and continuing to live with the strength and routine that had followed him long after the NFL. Then came the first sign. Johnson said he noticed weakness in his right hand. At first, it did not seem like a headline-making symptom. It felt like his grip was not the same. He was not as strong as he had always been. For a former NFL running back, someone whose body had absorbed years of hits, training, surgery, and recovery, it was not unreasonable for his family to wonder whether the issue was connected to football wear and tear. Brittany Johnson said she initially thought it might be something like a pinched nerve or another physical issue tied to his playing career. That was the first turn in the timeline. The symptom looked small. The possible explanation seemed ordinary. But after more testing, the situation changed. Johnson said that after multiple rounds of testing, doctors delivered the diagnosis: ALS, also known as amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, or Lou Gehrig's disease. He described the moment as difficult to process. He said doctors told the family about medication that might extend life by a period of time, and he recalled being told to get affairs in order. That is a deeply personal detail, and it should be handled carefully. Publicly, what has been confirmed is that Johnson has ALS, that his case progressed quickly, and that he and his family are now focused on treatment, research, awareness, and time together. What has not been publicly established is any single confirmed cause for his diagnosis. ALS is a progressive neurological disease that affects motor neurons, the nerve cells that help control voluntary movement. As those cells deteriorate, a person can lose the ability to walk, speak, swallow, and eventually breathe independently. Health authorities and ALS organizations stress that there is currently no cure that stops or reverses the disease, though treatments and care teams may help slow progression, manage symptoms, and support quality of life. That medical context matters because Johnson's story is not just about one former athlete. It is about how quickly ALS can interrupt a life that, from the outside, still appears strong and active. Johnson said the disease has progressed faster than he imagined. In one of the most personal parts of the interview, he contrasted what he could do just over a year ago with what he can do now. He recalled being able to pick up his young daughter around her birthday and said he can no longer do that today. The interview also revealed another important detail. Before Johnson lost his ability to speak, doctors recorded his voice. That recording allowed his speech-generating device to use a voice that sounds like him. So when viewers saw Johnson communicating through technology, they were not only seeing a machine translate eye movement into words, they were seeing one of the ways modern assistive care tries to preserve identity, familiarity, and connection. That is why Johnson's strongest public message was not framed as a goodbye to who he used to be. It was a reminder that he is still present. He said his mind is sharp. He said he still thinks, dreams, and loves his family. His body, in his words, does not cooperate. The next major point in the timeline is the family's search for care. Johnson said his path changed after watching a Good Morning America segment involving ALS care and Dr. Merritt Kutkowitz, a neurologist and ALS researcher connected to Mass General Brigham and Harvard Medical School. Johnson said his family reached out, and that connection became part of his current fight. Dr. Kutkowitz told Good Morning America that Johnson has been on standard of care medications and also participated in a clinical trial involving a therapy focused on reducing inflammation. She said she believes that participation may have helped him. That does not mean a cure has been announced. It means Johnson's public case is also being used to point toward research, trials, and the need for better options. That distinction is important. ALS research is active, and some treatments exist that may slow decline or help manage symptoms. But the public medical sources available today do not support saying there is a cure. Johnson himself framed his decision to go public around awareness, early diagnosis, and research support. He said that if sharing his story helps someone get diagnosed sooner, inspires more research, or gives another family hope, then speaking publicly is worth it. That is where the story moves from private health news into public legacy. Before this diagnosis, Chris Johnson was known for one of the most explosive careers of his era. The Tennessee Titans selected him in the first round of the 2008 NFL Draft out of East Carolina. In 2009, he delivered one of the most memorable seasons by a running back in NFL history, rushing for 2,006 yards and becoming known as CJ2K. He was named the NFL Offensive Player of the Year for that season and became associated with rare breakaway speed. NFL coverage notes that Johnson played 10 seasons, spending time with the Titans, New York Jets, and Arizona Cardinals. He finished with 9,651 rushing yards and 55 rushing touchdowns, and he opened his career with 6 straight 1,000-yard rushing seasons. For Titans fans, he was not only a stat line, he was a player who could change the feeling of a game with one snap. That is why the reaction from the franchise has carried weight. Titans owner Amy Adams Strunk released a statement saying, "Johnson is one of the people who left a lasting mark on the organization." She pointed to his leadership, locker room impact, and place in the Nashville community, and said the team would support him throughout the journey. The NFL community also has another reason to understand the seriousness of ALS. Johnson's former Titans teammate Tim Shaw was diagnosed with ALS in 2014 and has publicly battled the disease for years. That does not mean Johnson's case should be connected to Shaw's in a medical way, but it does mean Titans fans have seen ALS touch their football family before. What remains unclear is whether Johnson's football career played any role in his condition. Good Morning America reported that researchers have studied possible links between ALS and factors such as injury or physical activity, but no confirmed cause has been found for most cases. That is the careful line. Viewers may wonder about football, and Brittany Johnson said she initially suspected a football-related explanation for his hand weakness, but Johnson's diagnosis has not been publicly attributed to football. The confirmed point is that doctors believe his case is sporadic ALS. Public health sources describe sporadic ALS as the vast majority of cases, meaning cases that appear without a clear family history. For Brittany Johnson, the diagnosis also changed everyday life inside the family. She said the first thing she thought about was their children and how young they are. She acknowledged that their life is different now and that caregiving is heavy. But she also said she believes standing by her husband is what she is called to do. Johnson credited Brittany and their children as the reason he keeps fighting. He said he wakes up wanting more time with them, more memories, and more chances simply to be their dad. That is the emotional center of the story, but it should not be reduced to tragedy. Johnson is not asking the public to remember only what ALS has taken. He is asking people to understand what remains: his mind, his family, his identity, his faith in research, and his desire to help someone else through awareness. The timing of this reveal matters because Johnson's diagnosis happened in 2025. but the public is hearing the full story now, after major changes in his ability to speak and move. That delay suggests the family first had to process, seek care, and adapt privately before turning the story into a public awareness moment. And there is a practical message inside that timing. Johnson's first symptom was not dramatic. It was weakness in one hand. He and his wife initially considered more common explanations. Only after testing did the diagnosis become clear. For viewers, the takeaway is not to self-diagnose from one symptom, but to take unexplained changes seriously and seek medical evaluation when something does not feel right. The start line takeaway is this: Chris Johnson's public reveal changes the story from a private health battle into a broader awareness moment. It gives fans a clearer current status, but it also draws attention to the gaps that remain in ALS treatment. The confirmed facts are difficult enough without exaggeration. Johnson has ALS. It has progressed rapidly. He now uses assistive communication technology. He is receiving care, has participated in clinical research, and is using his platform to raise awareness. What viewers should not assume is a confirmed cause, a guaranteed prognosis for his individual case, or any private detail the family has not chosen to share. For now, the clearest public update is that Chris Johnson is still fighting, still communicating, and still asking people to see the person behind the diagnosis. The athlete, once known for outrunning defenders, is now in a very different race, one defined by research, family, and time. And while many questions remain unanswered, the message he chose to make public was simple. ALS has changed his body, but it has not changed who he is.